It's
Good morning.
showtime. Good morning.
Good morning, James. Who
It's morning
starts
somewhere.
today?
Who
Who starts
starts?
today? Is it you or me today?
I don't have to check
Remember?
my calendar.
Can
Let's
you
see.
look at the calendar? Because remember there
Oh,
was a
wait, that's
Monday
my
where you.
camera. Let me see. Oh, no, that's email. Wait, hold on. It's here somewhere. I know.
it's
Uh,
Instagram. I th- oh man, yeah, we missed last week. It sucks. I had to work and oh
yeah,
yeah, why did I have to work? Right? What
yeah.
happened?
So we should tell everyone what happened last week, so they don't think that we just got drunk and didn't show up or something.
Well, we did
Well, I
get
mean,
drunk, but
that
that
is
was
what
after.
happened ultimately, but. So you
I
have
had
you
to.
have a couple of chefs that are sick, and that means you have to take their classes, right?
I have to take all the shifts. So this
So you
weird
had to like
time right
really
now,
quickly learn how to cook so you could teach their classes.
no, I had to quickly learn how to speak English. The cooking part was easy. It's just the right.
Yeah, cooking's much
Yeah, it
easier
was
than
insane,
English.
man. I have one chef sick, and then his wife also works for me. So basically, there's two chefs sick because of COVID. So one gets sick. They're not sick. They're just
They just
positive and
tested
a little bit
positive,
sick,
yeah.
whatever. And then for a week, I had to replace these two people basically double shift every day. It was insane, man. And I'm not quite done. They are coming back to work on Tuesday, hopefully tomorrow. But it was brutal. It was brutal.
That's tough.
So we're sorry, guys. We cannot make it last week. It was very, very cool. We had so much to do, man. But we're back, and hopefully. So, James, I wanted to tell you, there's one day also we're gonna move the show to 2 p.m. I think it's a week or two, but otherwise, we
Okay.
are gonna stick to the 1 p.m.
Yes, and we're gonna do posts every week so people will know what we're doing.
Yes. So
So
this week,
I wanted to begin with an ad that I saw online. It was one of those little internet ads that pops up, and it was for and I don't want to pick on them because they did nothing wrong, but
who's them?
it was the company Sara Lee, and
Oh,
they were advertising two new breads that they're doing. And one was a honey bread, and the other one was called a butter bread. And I'm not exactly sure what they are, except I imagine the butter bread is just very buttery, and the honey is sweet. But it was funny because in the ad it said underneath, it had a picture of the two breads, and then underneath it said made with real honey and real butter. And I thought to myself, well, how sad it is that we live in a time where
oh
some
yeah.
company makes something called honey bread and has to tell you that it's made with real honey. Because normally, if
Wow.
somebody said, oh, I have this product, it's called honey bread, I would naturally assume that it was made with honey. But I realize that's a false assumption, because a lot of big companies
Wow.
today would use some artificial flavor and some faux honey thing. And so here's a company that makes their bread with real honey, and they have to actually say it in the advertisement, otherwise people won't know that it's made from real honey. That just seems crazy to me.
So they
It should,
say,
it should be
is
the
it?
other way around. You should have to
Yeah.
say, oh, we made it with fake
But James,
flavor.
it's the same. It's the same issue we have with organic food and
Hmm.
non-pesticide, all this stuff. It needs to be food, and if there is stuff in there, they need to be mentioned, right? But it's interesting that they say bread. Is it a? They should say real bread with honey, and this time we're not lying, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know, like it's.
Well, we've talked about this with
Oh man.
organic food too. It seems to me unfair that a farmer has to pay thousands of dollars to be certified as
Oh, I
organic.
know, that's
It
crazy.
seems to
That's
me it
crazy.
should be the other way around. Somebody that's growing with industrial methods and using all kinds of chemicals should have to say that.
Yeah, you don't.
They don't.
But anyway,
They
we'll get there. So the thing is, real food is. What does it mean to be real? I mean, what is real food? And I have to do with that all the time with my students and some of the people I take care of. When we work with cancer, that's one of the big things. We cook for with cancer once a week. We've started doing that for the last few weeks because we are shifting our business. But that's what we used to do. For once a week, we do that, and we do meal planning. And I want to tell people real food, what it is. It's real food is basically food that doesn't have a picture on it. That's all. It's
Right.
really, you know, and when you go to the farmer's market, this is your safe bet.
Hmm.
If you're not sure what to get, just go to the farm. I know it's more expensive. I understand that,
It's
but I
not
do
that
understand.
much more expensive, though. I
But
mean,
it doesn't even. I mean,
it can be, but
it can be pricier because sometime in the summer when you buy a peach for like $3, it's.
yeah,
But then on the other hand, it's a super peach. So, and then $3 is nothing compared to your coffee you just bought for $4. It's like where do you put the references, right?
right.
And for me, James, I really don't care how much food costs. It doesn't even matter because if I buy from a farmer, he's not driving a Mercedes. First of all, I have no problem giving $3 for a or 250 for a peach or apple. Not a problem at all,
Yeah.
right?
He's probably
Anyway,
driving a John Deere tractor, is what he drives.
or he
And an old
drives like
and an
a
old beat up pickup, yeah.
crappy car until the surrounding of the city, and then he has his nice car.
I mean,
Nah, we
I
know.
know we've talked about this a lot, but I think it's worth talking about, and that is that people just they they're so anxious about what they eat, and
Yeah.
they read so many things about, oh, this is the diet you should follow for perfect health,
Well, I would be cautious with
or
that.
or this
So
is, and it's just all such nonsense. I mean, if you just eat real food, eat
it's
a
the thing
variety
is,
of fresh food.
so James, the idea is this: we cannot give you new arguments of eating real food because it's the same argument. There's no new thing.
Right.
As all the people that are developing, crappy food and fake food and all this powdered food, they have all these argument and marketing stuff that they can work. We don't have. It's the same stuff that 100 years ago we were using, and I don't know how to reword all this. It's the same. It's food, right?
Right.
So
And it's
anyway,
it's not to say that you can't buy a a packaged product, or you can't buy something that's had
yeah,
been partially
no,
prepared. There's a lot of good stuff out there. But
right.
for the most part, if you pick up a jar of something and you can't pronounce the ingredient list, you should
Well,
probably
no,
put it back on the shelf.
it's not about pronouncing the element. I don't think that's really the big issue. The big issue is you should not see a list of things in the back.
Right.
That is weird because sometimes, I mean, names are confusing, but they are real. I mean, if you talk about, it doesn't matter. Like sometimes you get confused because people have a chemical name. That's not the scary part. The scary part, either you know what you're reading or you don't. But if I buy a cracker, and a cracker, I know it's made. It's water, flour, salt, whatever, maybe a little bit of one more thing, but that's 3 to 4 ingredients. So if you pick up a box of cracker that has 15 or 20 ingredients, for sure, that's not good. For sure,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
no need
Put it
to. You
put
don't
it
need to
back.
understand. It's not good. It's not flour and water and salt. That's it, or yeast, but that's it. So this is how you need to think. Sometimes the names are real. I mean, if I break down the chemical compound of a broccoli, you're going to see a lot of chemicals, isothiocyanate, all this stuff. They're not scary. They are part of the vegetables. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's why I want to make sure that it's not just the chemical name. You have to either understand what the chemical means because sometimes they're very natural, but you don't want to see too many of these on a product
Right.
that should be right. That's all.
Right.
So it's
Right.
complicated, and if you don't know how to do it, like we have a basic series here at the Kitchen on Fire where we do 12-week series. It is important to understand that if you want to be healthy, you're gonna have to cook your own food, and that's it, done. So there's no other way around. You need to make your own food, either grow it, cook it, gather it, whatever it is. If you are talking about being healthy, that is the only way that is going to happen. So let's put that discussion aside. I mean, like how much can you
Well, I know we've talked about it a
concentrate on
lot,
that?
but I still think it's just so important, and I think it's so simple. It's
Yeah.
so anyway. Uh,
All right. So we had a good question today. Not a question, good.
Well,
about
we were talking
the
about
weird the weird stuff
weird
people
or
ask for.
irritating orders in a restaurant.
Yeah, so we have a list right there.
Did you put up a list?
No, I don't. I
We
thought you were
have
going to.
we have some funny things. Some of them are
Yeah.
funny, some of
So
them are irritating. Like, for example, one of the ones that I get.
what, James? I'm sorry. What? We're gonna talk now about something that we both of us. I mean, James and I, we work in at Cesar and other places, and there's a bunch of stuff that people ask sometimes that are a little bit crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And and some of them,
Some of them are legitimate. I can't eat peanuts, for example. So is there any peanuts in this dish? Well, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask. Fortunately, we don't really use peanuts at Cesar, so that's an easy one. But
right? Right.
um, but people ask and they'll say, and I'd much rather have them tell us, you know, than not tell us and have them be choking to death on the floor after they've eaten their thing. But 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 people always want to substitute things, and one of the ones that I find the most irritating is when people order a salad with the dressing on the side. Now,
I know.
the reason it's irritating is because, for two reasons. One is that I think they do it for one of two reasons. The first reason is because they think that it's somehow healthier if they don't eat dressing on their salad. And that's irritating because it's just nonsense. If you eat We've talked about this on the show, in our previous show. If you eat salad greens, the only way you can extract the nutrition and the things that you need from those salad greens is to have fat with it. So if you eat a salad with no dressing, you might as well eat the menu because it's about as
And then
good for you.
it's not even good for you.
Yeah, it's
It's not
just
even that good for
pure.
you because salads are great because of the component that's in there, which I
Yeah,
love. I love salads, but I love the oil
I
that
do
come with
too.
it, the vinegar, right? But it's that's not the most irritating part is because then you have to
Right.
sit on the table, right?
Right. But the other thing is, and 9 times out of 10, if they get the dressing on the side, they end up using it all, which is, so they've just. But the other reason I think sometimes they do it is because they think that their salad's going to be overdressed, and so they want to
Mm,
control that. But again, they end up using all the dressing, and that one's irritating because it's kind of insulting. It's like, hey,
yeah.
our cooks know how to dress a salad, and our salad is very good. People order it. We sell tons of them every night at whatever salad we have on
I
the
know.
menu at the time, and they're all really good. They're not overdressed. They're not underdressed.
Okay,
They're
so I have a question for you then. Let's say for someone who's listening, why would that be a pain to not put the dressing in a salad? I mean, how difficult is that? So my answer would be to basically the way I answer people in this type of question is, you know, the menu has been crafted very specifically. There was a training for that. The chefs
hmm
had been trained to do exactly the salad, so it comes out really good. Chefs do not like when something is altered for the someone to actually makes his own meal on the table. They don't like
right,
it. They don't like it because they came out with that whole dressing, this whole thing that they train somebody to do, and then you come behind and you want to do your own. That's what's irritating. It's not the fact that it's not a huge bit. It's not a huge work to not put some dressing on the salad. First of all,
no,
you have to use a new bowl. Uh, because see, the bowl for salad is right there. It's already ready to go. So you have to use something else that is not part of the setup. You have to understand the setup is very tight, especially when the restaurant is super busy. Like in a busy restaurant, you have your bowls, even if they're not dirty from dirt, they've been used for specific task,
right,
and then you're breaking that rhythm. So that's what's happening. It's the fact that people are twisting their own thing where the menu's been crafted already and things came out good. So it is an insult a little bit, yes. And people don't realize that, especially for oil. I mean, how can you be allergic to oil? Some people are allergic, completely understood. But that's pretty much it, right? So
yeah.
that's what I think is kind of
I always tell
that would.
people the only thing underdressed in our restaurant is me. So um,
But
the other one,
we had some crazy comments. So yeah, we had some crazy requests in
yeah,
the restaurant.
people want to. I don't know if you've ever seen. There's a movie called Get Shorty, and
I
it's a very
think
funny
so.
film about these gangsters, but it's also about movie stars. And these two characters are at this little cafe, a little sidewalk cafe in Los Angeles, and they're waiting for this big movie star played by Danny DeVito. And sh-
Oh,
and she says to him, she says, "Now watch. He's not gonna look at the menu. He's not gonna order off the menu. He's gonna give the waiter some special instructions, and he only does it because he's a big movie star and he wants everybody to know that he doesn't order off a menu. He doesn't have to." So sure enough,
wow.
when DeVito gets there, when his character gets there, he sits down and the waiter comes over and he just says, "Oh, could I get a this, but could I have it with this?" And then
Right,
and it's this all this instructions, and of course the waiter says sure, because he's big star, and he says, "Yeah, sure, we'll do that for you."
right.
But
That's cool.
people do that a lot. They
Do
seem to
they
feel the need to.
do
I
they
need to
understand what's happening
change
in the
this
kitchen?
somehow.
Do they know what's happening in the kitchen?
No, they have no clue. They have no clue.
It's like, in LA we had this when I was younger, of course. We had this saying like, "Don't piss up a waiter. Don't piss off a waiter. Do not do that. Like seriously, don't, because you don't know what's in your plate, man." And it's true. It's like
Yeah,
people
and
are really
you don't
edgy
want to
right
piss
now.
off the cooks either. They it's annoying for them, like you say, that when they
Well,
have to
that's what I'm
stop
saying,
and break their rhythm and
James. That's
create
what I'm
something
saying.
new.
When you piss the cook through the waiter. You never piss the cook in the room. It's always the waiter that has to give
Right.
the message over there in someone that's already pissed. And so you create a havoc. You do create a problem in the kitchen, even though
Hmm.
it's a slight problem, and substitution are okay in most places because we do have allergies. And this is
Yeah.
something we have to count on, and it's true. But
Well,
the more
that's
we do
different.
that, the
Yeah.
more, yeah, and the more we do that, the more we slow down the restaurant and the more we add hours to the shift. It's the thing, it's like at this point today, every minute of 15 minutes or 10 minutes that you add reduce the all the food that is being sent to another table, or it's just the way it is. And right now things are really tight for us. It is very difficult to be in the food business today. It is
Yes.
like almost impossible. So
Yeah.
we'll see how long it lasts, man, because I know a lot of people, they open restaurant and they're like already tired. They're like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that. I'm like, I don't know,
There
man.
was an article in the New York Times today about this Vietnamese restaurant in I guess it's in New York, in Brooklyn, anyway, the restaurant opened during the pandemic, so they have never been
Wow.
open in a non-pandemic time, and it just talked about
Wow.
how they're like sort of reinventing the restaurant business to stay open, and it's very
You,
interesting.
I that is something I love to hear. Reinvent yourself. Yeah, right. A restaurant is simple. You have a great place where people come in, you greet them well, and you serve them good food. Uh,
Yeah.
Reinvent. How do you want to reinvent? Like put robots, deliver the food. I mean, that's the thing. What reinventing what? This is something that's been the same principle. You go to someone's home, you are a host, you propose really good stuff, and you give them to your guests. That's pretty much it. This is how it works. I don't know how to want to reinvent having no chefs. It's like it's weird. What do you want to reinvent? Yeah, you want to do
Well, I think the
catering.
thing that's changing is the idea of service, like
Yeah,
having a server
yeah,
come to your table, take your
yeah,
order, go
yeah.
away, come back
No,
with
no more
food.
of that. Yeah,
That's changing because it's too
right.
expensive,
Yeah, to have
and
waiters. It's
it's
crazy.
just you can cut costs quite a bit by letting people just come up to the counter, make their order, and then you just have somebody run them their food.
Yeah, yeah.
You still need people. You still need people in the restaurant doing that, but I had a guest. I've had this more than once. I've had guests come in and say, um, "Oh, my friend is terribly allergic to garlic."
Oh yeah.
So I always say, and so you decided to come to a Spanish restaurant, but you can't eat garlic. I mean, everything's
That
got garlic.
that sucks for them. I
It
know
does
people that
suck
are
for
allergic.
them, and
I
we're
don't know, man.
really
Yeah, no, it's
accommodating, but
true.
we can't.
No,
There's
you
so
can't.
many
It's like
dishes that we can't
I
take the
know.
garlic out.
Yeah, it sucks for them. I know so many people. I know it's a weird allergy. Onion and garlic. That's a hard one, and, and
Yeah.
and people are have an issue with that, and then I feel really bad for them because that sucks. I mean,
Yeah, there's just so much
gluten I
use.
can deal with. I mean, gluten is fine. I mean, fine. Gluten allergy is a problem for a lot of people. So that's something that
Yeah.
really is
Well, gluten's the
because they've
easiest
been
for us because gluten
right.
on our menu is pretty obvious. It's, it's in the form of bread, so we don't have a lot of hidden gluten in our food.
Okay,
So
right,
that one's a
right, right,
pretty easy one to deal with. I can just tell people what to avoid. And
right, right.
certainly if somebody wants their aioli on the side, we can do that. I mean, that's easy enough to do, but it's
Yeah,
so
a lot of
often
things.
it's so often
So
they want an ingredient that we would have to go back and start the dish from scratch to not include that, and we can't
the
do that.
best, James, the best one was when Dennis was still working. I know we talked about that a few years ago when Dennis was working, and there was this guy, a little bit like you were talking earlier. This guy thought he could order anything from the menu
Uh-huh.
because he was this guy who's pretty loaded with money. And he came and he was super busy. And then he asked for an omelette, right? Like a eggs omelette. And we had frittata. I mean, we had, I'm sorry, tortilla, right? But he
Right.
didn't want the potatoes, whatever. And we can't make, we're not set up for eggs dish right
Yeah.
now. The service is going, we're full. And the guy is like, oh yeah, how hard it is for the chef to do 2 eggs. Seriously. He's like, come on, you're a super restaurant. You're bullshitting me. And I'm like, you don't get it, man. It's like they're not going to stop the whole line just to cook 2 eggs out of on the line where all the stickers. You don't understand. And he's
Yeah.
like, you don't understand. And then I had to go get Dennis and say, Dennis, please, can you explain to him that he's not going to get omelette for sure? And then I don't want to hear any more of that, or we don't serve him anymore. That's it.
Yeah.
And Dennis went and he says, we're not making omelette. He's like, what type of restaurant is that? It's a restaurant that do tapas with a menu that is specific, very specific, that we've crafted already, and we're not changing that in the middle of the service just to do 2 eggs. But that happens a lot, though. It's not just this guy. People assume that because you have the ingredient, you can do something a meal. No, that's not the way it
Sometimes we
works.
don't even have eggs in the kitchen. If there are
Oh
no
yeah,
eggs
right.
on the menu, they don't have them. Um,
Right.
we're more likely to have a couple eggs behind the bar because people order a whiskey sour or a pisco sour and it has egg white. So yeah,
So you still do the egg white with the sour?
we do, unless they don't want it. But if somebody orders a pisco sour, yeah, it's got egg white.
Okay.
There's an ongoing debate behind the bar of which system is better.
Well, we talked
We
about
have
it last time.
we have these little electric whisks that you can froth up
Yeah.
the egg white.
Right.
But I put the lemon, the sugar, and the egg white into a dry shaker, and I just shake the crap out of it, and that really
Right.
froths up the egg.
That's
Then
that's
I
the way.
add the liquor, the ice, shake it again to make it cold, and strain it into a glass, and it works fine. But some people like to use the little electric frother to
Okay.
froth up the eggs.
I
Works either way.
when we had a problem in LA, at some point there was a problem with the raw eggs in the bar. They tried to remove that, so we had to switch. So the way I was replacing the egg white with a powdered sugar, which is not great, but it worked the same. It makes that binding kind
Oh,
of drink because that's what you're looking for, the binding, that frosty look. And powdered sugar does that. It's not
oh,
great, but
really?
that's what I replaced the egg white with.
Well, and then you wouldn't have to add any sugar to the drink because you'd be doing it
No,
all in one step.
but because there's cornstarch in it, a little bit of cornstarch in that
Right.
sugar, it gives you that frothy, but also it's way safer because I would not work with raw eggs in a bar personally,
Yeah.
unless I would do 1 egg per person. Like if I open an egg, then you dump it. You know what I mean? Like a fresh egg, not
Oh, we do
like
that.
we.
We separate the egg. I whisk it
Okay,
with a fork a little bit so that it's easier to measure out, and then I just get rid of the rest of it.
cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because
And then I wash my hands before I continue with the drink.
right,
So,
because I've seen bars where they put the white into the fridge into a container, right? You can't do that.
no, we don't do that. We don't do that.
And would serve like a cup.
That's asking
Yeah,
for trouble.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Plus, we don't sell that many of them. I mean,
good.
occasionally somebody will want one and then they'll want two more. So but we don't usually get a lot of orders for those kind of drinks,
Right.
fortunately. But
That's a
They're
good
really
drink.
good
That's
though.
a good drink.
You know what? There's another thing when something calls for egg to sort of be a binder. My wife discovered that the liquid left over from there's a name for it, but it's after you cook garbanzo beans.
Aquafaba.
Aquafaba, yeah. She uses that instead of eggs for a lot of things because she
Yeah,
has an allergy to eggs.
that's what I use for vegan omelet, which is.
Well, she doesn't make omelets, but it'll be something
But I
like
do, I do something though that's very good with aquafaba. I do a vegan mayonnaise.
oh yeah.
That works pretty well. That was pretty surprising.
So what,
Beautiful
just
and
that and olive oil and some lemon?
yeah, yeah, and you blend it. So the starch in there is gonna make your emulsion.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's
It
pretty
tastes
cool, and
good.
it looks really amazing. Well, it tastes, it tastes okay. It's not, I like egg better because egg is good for you. Egg is
Yeah.
fantastic. I don't know why I should replace my egg with some starch, which is basically sugar, but it looks
Yeah.
beautiful and it works. So yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I eat eggs, so I don't worry about it, but
Oh, okay. So let's aquafaba. What is that? It's the water that's left when you open the can of the garbanzo beans.
right.
That liquid, that juice. That's what
Right.
you use. You keep
Yeah.
that, and you process that in too many forms. There's a lot of people that use that for a lot of things. So
Yeah.
if you're interested, look for aquafaba, and you're gonna see a lot of recipes with that. I've done a whole tortilla with that, James, completely
Oh,
vegan. It looked beautiful. It was,
huh.
it's a lot of starch, so for me, it's not great, but it looked beautiful. It looked completely crazy. I have a picture you would not believe that it's not egg.
Huh. It's interesting how many people have food issues today that have to talk about them in a restaurant and say, well, I can't
Oh
eat
yeah,
such
yeah,
and such, and I can't eat such and such.
yeah.
And
It's
that's a
crazy.
relatively modern phenomenon. I mean, and
Yep,
the
yep.
question is it just that it's become more prevalent and that's why we see it, or has the food changed and people are
It's
becoming
it's a blend. I know for gluten, I can talk about gluten because we have a lot of people that are gluten allergy in what we do, and we have to be very careful with that, or celiac. And most of those people, they got sick from that wheat, the
right?
American wheat, uh,
Yeah,
that is poisonous and it's full of glyphosate, super terrible food, and that got them sick. It's not the wheat or the gluten, it's the crappy wheat that they've been eating for their whole life,
right,
and now they can't take it anymore, and that's completely understandable. I mean,
right.
their body is reacting to bad food, which is a good thing, but now they can't eat it anymore. And a lot of people, they go to France and they're like, oh my god, I can eat the bread in France, it's so cool. Have you heard that like 100 million
Yeah,
times?
yeah.
It's so
Well, and
like, okay, so what's going on?
I've also heard that gluten allergies are much more minimal in Europe than they are here because they
Right.
don't allow genetically modified wheat for one thing, and
Oh yeah,
they still use old strains of wheat which
yeah.
were much better for you. They're much more natural.
And they're
They're
going
much
back.
more the way wheat originally was.
Yeah, because
Because
I mean, unless you eat a lot of wheat, you should not have a problem with wheat. If you eat once a day, something with bread, it's fine for me, for example. But if you eat that 3 times a day, every day, you will have issues regardless of the quality because it's too much. We're not meant to eat that. It's like if you eat in the morning something with wheat, pastry, croissant, whatever, and then for lunch you eat a sandwich, and then at night you eat pasta, that is not good for sure. So it doesn't matter the quality, you're gonna have issues anyways in the end. So,
it's
it's like
interesting. Yeah,
variate.
it's interesting. I see customers, and there was one in particular recently that will just devour the bread. Now
Yeah,
we used to take bread to every
I used
table
to do
when
that.
we used to take bread to every table, and now we kind of ask people if they want bread because a lot of people
Oh
don't,
wow.
and they don't eat it, so then it just goes to waste, and we end up throwing it away. I'd rather. I
Okay.
mean, anybody that wants bread, we give them as much bread as they want. But if they don't
Hmm.
want bread, why waste it? So
Okay.
it's the same with water. We don't take water to a table unless they request it because A lot of times
Like
the water just sits there and it's just wasted. And this is
I never,
California.
I never drink my water in a restaurant.
So,
I drink my beer.
yeah. So, but some people will just sit and eat bread like by the fistfuls in restaurants, and they'll
Well,
just,
hey James, remember when we used to go to Chez Panisse? The
well, that's
first thing we do, because the bread was so good,
because the bread was so
we
amazing.
used to eat a half a loaf, and that was crazy. And the waiters were looking at us like, "Oh my god!" But then we eat our meal.
But
But it's
that
true
bread was
that
so good.
it is still good. It's just the levain, the Acme levain. That
It's the
was
Acme Levain, but it's different than what you buy in the store. It's somehow
oh,
they get some special recipe that is just
mm,
so moist and delicious, and plus they have the great butter and really good
yeah.
salt. And yeah,
So we used
uh,
to like right. They used to bring the thing. Oh my god.
I
Oh my
used
god.
to
I
eat a lot of
remember.
bread in restaurants, and I just don't anymore because it fills you up. And then, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's a cheap way to eat because we don't charge for the bread. But I love people that come in
All
too and they just get a drink and they say, "No, we're not going to eat. Can we just have some bread and some olive oil?"
that
And
yeah.
so it's like,
That's
okay, so you just want us to give you a
no.
bunch
I
of
know.
food.
That's James happens everywhere. There's always those people.
I
That's
know
like I've known that for my whole life. In LA, people would go to the bar and like, can we have some bread and butter? Sure. You know,
Yeah,
like
you can't say no because then you're a jerk.
no. Right.
But they should have the awareness to say, "Let me at least order something." Just
Yeah, I know.
order
To
some
go
food.
to go to go with the bread, right?
Yeah, I mean, order some almonds,
or
order a
or
salad,
they
order
no
a cheese plate.
my favorite one is the people that order like tons of olives on the side of their martinis,
Oh yeah.
so they can eat the olives. I'm like, this is
I I have people that ask for olives in their martini. I said, "Do you want a twist or I want an olive." And then they don't eat it. They don't touch it. And I guess it's just to flavor their martini. But
or
to
like
me, I used to
six
love when I'd
onions.
finished the martini, I liked
I
eating the
know.
olive.
Well, that's the
Be all
thing.
soaked
Or they
with
did,
gin.
or they ask for like six olives,
Yeah.
and your martini is like full
Yeah.
of.
Well, the olives we use are huge. So if sometimes they'll say, "I
Oh
want
man.
3 olives," and it's like, "Well, do you want any gin in the glass? Because there won't be much room left." You put 3 olives in our martini glass. It's you can't really carry it because it's slopping over the sides. It's pretty crazy.
Flags for life. Hello, I'm Jenny. Slightly off topic. I have a date tonight. Any advice? You mean
Uh,
for food? Uh,
I don't know. Are you going out to a restaurant? Are you cooking for your date? Is your date cooking for you?
I have an advice. I have a yeah an advice. If you go to a restaurant that is dim light, and if you wear glasses, don't wear them. Your date will look better, and so will you.
Yeah, I'm
Right?
wondering if it's a blind. Is it a blind date? Maybe she's
Right.
already. Hey, Panos. Thank
Panos.
you.
Yeah.
Bowling, then to an
Oh, that's great,
Italian
man.
restaurant. That's
That's
pretty safe.
cool.
That's a good date.
Yeah. Great.
Because bowling is fun. It's physical. You're not,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and it kind of
I mean,
encourages
you know the
conversation. And
uh,
Italian
so,
food is just so easy. That's a great choice for a date.
yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
sounds like a
Exactly.
wonderful
Exactly.
time.
But I'm telling you though, in bowling, you may not end up in a restaurant if that person is a bad player, or like what
Yeah.
those people they hate to lose.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I that's a great idea, because right there you know if something is wrong, right? So
I'm
good luck
wondering where
tonight.
she's going bowling. Albany Bowl closed.
Or maybe she's not here. I mean, we're
But
assuming
yeah,
that she.
she might be in Tanzania. Who knows? But
Good luck
uh,
tonight. Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
yeah, good luck on your date. I hope you have a really fun time. Again, I think an Italian restaurant is a good
Yeah,
choice for a
it's a
date
safe
because
bet, right?
it's easy food to like. And
Right, and it will be Lux Italian.
yeah.
Italian food, man. Italian food and Mexican food are the staple in America, right? I mean, it's the
Yeah.
most like this is pure. Oh, in the UK. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're in the
So
UK. There's some great
Ah,
Italian food in the UK. I've had some really good food, and well,
I
I've
was
had
going to
all
say
kinds
that.
of good food in the UK, but
I
particularly
was going.
Italian food.
I was going to say there's great bowling alleys in the UK.
I hope so. I hope
but
so.
that's but flags for life. I tell you, going bowling is great. You're gonna see the character of that person, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So you might not end up in the restaurant. No, I'm kidding. I'm hoping you will. I'm hoping you will.
I love the UK. I've been there many, many times.
Yeah, me
It's a
too, man.
wonderful, wonderful place. The people are fabulous. And, England particularly had a bad reputation for a long time for its food, but it's just not true.
And they deserved it.
And they deserved it maybe at one time. But I'll
Yeah,
tell
I
you,
know, I
today
know,
there
I
is
know,
some
I know.
outstanding food in England, and some outstanding food being produced too, like cheesemakers,
There is
the
outstanding food in
produce.
the whole world, James.
That's true.
It's like it's been, a lot of chefs have stepped up their game. It's really awesome to see. The problem I have today is it's going too far on the other direction, and people are making some weird food, and that's why I
Yeah,
thank
there's some
you.
weird stuff.
What is your name? Flags of Light. Have a good night
Flags for
and good
life.
luck tonight, huh?
Yeah, have
Oh,
fun. We'll be
oh yeah.
thinking of you. You're 8 hours ahead of us, I believe. Is it 8 or 9? That's
It's
daylight savings time. I always get confused.
eight or it's behind or in front, whatever.
It's in front, so she's right now. She's probably going on her date.
Having a date. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
Don't order the garlic bread.
yeah. Take it easy on the garlic bread. I love
All
garlic
right.
bread. It's also
So
funny how we talk in this country about Italian food, and we think Italian food is this, this, and this. But really, there is no one Italian food. It's
I know,
every
right?
region has a distinctive cuisine. It's only
Yeah.
been a country for about 120 years or something. It's maybe a little more than that. It was in the late 19th century that it actually became a unified country, and before that, it was all these regions and city states. And the food in Naples is entirely different than the
Oh yeah.
food in
Right. Right. Right.
Bologna.
Right.
I mean, those are sort of extremes. Sicilian food is very different. I mean, they all have things in common, but like pasta, but the pasta is
There's a
totally
great.
different.
We have a great Sicilian restaurant here in Berkeley. Lococos.
Oh, right, right.
That you guys, if you are looking for something really cool in Berkeley, Lococos, that's is a good friend of mine. They've been there for what 35. I mean, like
Long
some
time,
crazy
long time.
stuff.
I haven't
It's
been there in a
family.
long
The
time.
dad owns him, the mom, the kids, the
Everybody
brothers,
works there.
the sister. It's like incredible. It's like yeah,
They have outstanding
this
pasta. They make all their own pasta. They make their own
great
bread.
place.
They have really
And
good bread.
now the two brothers Gilberto and oh my god, the other I forgot you. Anyway,
The one brother that I got to know used to come into Cesar once in a while. Is really good looking guy, big arms like the size of my thighs.
that's Gilberto.
Yeah, so I always did. I always gave
Gilberto.
him whatever he asked for
His
because he,
brother is really cool too. His brother
yeah,
works. Oh my god, I can't believe I don't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man. If you're listening, hopefully you're not. I can't remember your name.
it's a handsome family.
Yeah.
But
They're
it's a
really
fun
cool. They're
place to
really cool.
go too because you just really feel like you're in a family restaurant, and it's fun and it's close by. I haven't been there in ages. I don't know why. I should go.
Yeah, I know. Well, we haven't been anywhere in ages.
Well, that's
James.
true. That is
The
true.
only place I go is to have a drink. Sometime I went to a couple of restaurants. There's a restaurant that I go to that is very cool because it's my friend and it's easy. It's a Chez Mansour on Solano. Have you been there?
I have not.
Oh, it's fun, James. Maybe we can go together. It's really cool.
He was in the other
It's a
night again.
Mediterranean night. No, it's really. He's a really good host. So if you want to see a good host, that's Ali from Chez Mansour. That's the type of restaurant. He's a little bit too generous, but
It's
he's really
interesting
awesome.
because in my mind, what makes a really great restaurant is when it has this real feeling of welcome and
Exactly.
hospitality. I mean, theaters, I mean, restaurants are kind of a theatrical experience, and I think the more gregarious the host is that's welcoming you in, it makes it a fun experience, and you feel like you
Totally.
belong.
So that's a restaurant. A restaurant is a host or an owner that greets you and
Yeah,
makes you feel comfortable and offers you his food and make sure that you're having a great time. It's not just trying to make tables turn so you can like get to your numbers at the end of the night. This is a
right.
whole different story, right?
And
It's
it's a way of making people feel like they're regular customers, even though
they're
that
at
might
home.
might be the first time they've come into the place.
Right,
You make them
exactly.
feel as special
Ah,
as the people
absolutely.
that come in every day, and that's a real talent, and not everybody can do that. When I work the door at Cesar, I always try to greet people as though they're,
Me
regular
too.
customers.
That's what I was doing,
Many of them
and
are, of course, but some aren't. Some come in for the first time. And when somebody tells me it's their first time in, like if I go to a table and they're looking at the menu and they say, "Well, it's our first time here," the first thing I say is, "Well, then welcome. Well, oh, we're so happy to have you. What can What do you have questions? I can help you." And because they usually have questions about the menu if they've never been in before.
and that's great. And see, this is what I don't want to hear in a restaurant. And I know it's not everybody's. Every time someone says, "What do you recommend?" I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't give a shit. It's like we spent hours and days trying to come out with each dish
yeah,
to be important. But I understand the question. It's
I
like
do
some
too.
because in the old days, and that's I don't of course it's not today, but in the old days, remember we had something that we were trying to like, for example, the whatever the meal of the
Yep.
day. No, the
Push the
whatever.
veal, sell the veal. The veal's good tonight. And it used to be also restaurants used to be you had a menu that was printed in about 1942 and you were still using it in 1982. It just didn't
Oh my
change. So you
god!
had the same dishes
Right.
on every night. And some of them would get tired because maybe no one's ordered this dish in 2 weeks. So you got meat that's been sitting around, you got fish that's old. I
I
mean,
think
so the
I
waiter
think
would
the
say, "Oh, don't order the trout tonight. It's no
right.
good. Get
I
the veal chops or whatever." But
James that
nowadays, I mean, when people say, "What do you recommend?" I say, "Well, I recommend everything, but tell me what you like." I mean, and then I go through and I
that's a
sort
good
of give the
one.
highlights. I can
That's
say
a
I
good
can sort
one.
of tell you what the most popular dishes are.
That's a great
Um,
one. That's a good answer. I think the question they have is, what should not we have here? You know what I mean?
right,
I think
right.
that's the real question. What should we not eat?
And I try to assure them that our food turns.
Right. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
sell everything. I mean, if a dish doesn't sell, we take it off the menu. So everything on that list is selling, and we sell a lot of it, and the food turns over, and we go through it. So the food is fresh. It's it's all really good. It's
There
like
was
with the
there was
wine list too. People are intimidated by wines, especially if they're unfamiliar, because there's we always have a lot of Spanish wines,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
usually have some
on the
Italian and
wine.
French.
I can see that
Yeah, it's
because
a little
a
tougher.
good waiter should have, even if he doesn't know the wine, right? Because it's a lot. But I think each waiter should have a couple of wine in each category that he knows well, that he can recommend, that he can
Right.
talk about. Like even if he's not a good wine person, he needs to have one or two wines per category that he can talk about. And that's super important because a lot of people get very intimidated in the wine through by the wine, and then a
Yeah.
lot of people they're trying to, and I've seen that a lot. I've seen people they're trying to show that they have some type of experience and they're a little bit lost. As a waiter, you need to pick up on that and you need to help that poor people that are trying to, get something. They're trying to have a good time, and it's not the moment to bash them. It's the moment to really like, hey, not saying you have difficulties, but hey, this is a really cool wine. I know you wanted this, but this is also in the same price range. You could, also price range. Don't get someone a $60 bottle when he's trying to look for something around 40.
Right.
You don't know what's like, if he's looking around 40, or 30, then, stick in this range. Don't try to get
Well, and usually in our restaurant, people are buying wine by the glass. So
Right,
I'll usually say to them, well, what kind of wine do you like? Do you like
right.
something really big and full? Do you like something a little bit lighter? And then I have suggestions that there are certain wines I know they're going to like. And then the other thing we do is I say, and look, and the other thing is I'm happy to bring you a taste of anything you're interested in. And sometimes they'll say, well, what between these two, which do you recommend? And I'll say, well, they're both excellent. They're different. And then sometimes I'll just bring them a taste of each of the wines and let them choose because um,
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have typically there's not a wine on our list that I wouldn't be if I went to somebody's house and they opened that bottle and poured it, I'd be happy as a clam. But every once in a while, we do have wines that are a little funky and it's a particular taste, and
It's
so I
true.
like people to try them before they order them.
It's true that clams are happy. Yeah, we've never seen clams in therapy.
You never see them frowning. Yeah,
Right.
they're almost never in therapy.
I know.
But
I
yeah,
that's our yeah. That's so it's a good analogy. Yeah. Good
yeah.
job.
Thank you.
Oh no. I'm like, no, we have 5 minutes. No, no, we're good. So cool. There was another question that you had for me, James, about
Do you
my
have that
hair.
$20 you owe me? I
Yeah.
think
Oh yeah. Well, you're breaking out.
I get those, I get those same questions at the bar too. People say, "Well, what cocktail do you recommend?" And
Oh
it's
yeah,
kind
it's
of
big.
funny because I do have my favorites on the cocktail list. There's some that are maybe a little too sweet for me.
Right.
Although typically all of our cocktails are pretty well balanced.
Now,
Occasionally somebody wants a sweet cocktail. What's your sweetest cocktail?
oh, I know. No, some or they would say, "Do you have any frou-frou cocktail?" Right?
Yeah,
And I'm like, "Well, oh, something with pineapple juice." No, we
yeah,
don't have that. Like,
yeah,
sorry, there's no pineapple juice.
yeah.
Oh my god. What we used to make the punch, I used to make that when I was, in LA or
Uh-huh.
those
Yeah.
I had this drink that was super disgusting. It was called the Flaming Colossus. And we put like three different juices with rum and vodka and weird stuff. And then we put an orange slice and then we put a sugar cube that was with one rum 151, right?
And then
In
you'd
there.
light
So
it
you
on
could,
fire.
and then you bring that gigantic to the table and we like, oh my god, I'm like, Jesus, did I make that?
But that's as much for theater as it is for
I
taste.
know.
People do
That was
that
my
with
job,
desserts
whatever,
too. There are some restaurants where the desserts are just over the top and they've got things sticking out of
Oh
them and
my
there's sparklers and
god.
there's
And you see people, they don't know how to start. Like they're just trying to move that plate around to see where they're gonna
right.
get in that dessert. Like they're like, okay, so how am I gonna get in there?
Yeah,
Right?
it's funny.
Oh,
I
the
usually
those oh
suggest people get the Andalusian sidecar because
oh yeah.
it's somewhat
Ooh,
sweet, but it's also
that's a
got
good one.
it's got a sugared rim, so that gives it a whole another layer of sweetness.
That
So
was a
for
good
people that
one.
really, to me, it's sort of an after dinner drink because it is sweet. I usually like something drier and more austere when I'm getting an aperitif, but that's just me. And I'm so sophisticated that
It is just you, James. But the
but
restaurant
again,
when I was making those cocktails, it was this jazz club. I know I talked to you about it. This big jazz club where we had
uh-huh.
big band. So it was 20-piece musician. It was really cool, like jazz and stuff. Everybody's in talks and I remember making those really hideous drinks, right? But whatever, people love sweet stuff. And in one of those restaurants, I was working with the talks. And the talks, you can't clean them. I don't know if people know that, but it's, if it's a working talks, you don't clean it. You just clean it with coffee. Do you know that?
Yeah, right.
So literally, you clean your talks with coffee, and like almost every day. And that's why those talks in restaurant they look so horrible, because
it's
Oh
such
my
a
God.
weird old-fashioned idea
Oh
to have the
my God.
servers
Oh,
dressed up either in
seriously.
tuxedos or those little short white jackets like they do
Oh
behind
my
the bar
God.
sometimes.
I was in LA. Oh, it was terrible. And it was hot, and I had to do lunch in this weird restaurant where I had to dress a tuxedo in a super cold room because the air conditioning was full blast. Oh my God. It was weird, man. But whatever. It was, it was a job. It was fun. So it was service à l'ancienne, like in the 80s. Like, oh
Uh-huh.
my God, you couldn't, but it was pretty crappy food. So, no, seriously, like it was. And I worked there for a couple of months. I was so broke, and I could not stay because the food was just not. But it was those,
There used to be a lot of those kind of places in New York
in
that
oh
had
yeah,
been there forever, and the waiters were ancient, and they were still wearing the
right.
tuxedos that they bought in, like,
20
1950.
years ago, that's right.
And the food was just tired, I mean, it wasn't terrible, it just
The
wasn't very
Yeah,
exciting,
right. The food, and it's very like
and everybody's
sauce and
drinking
gravy,
martinis and
and salads, like huge salad. It's all everything is included. It's soup and salad and everything. Right? Breadsticks are included, so you have to bring the breadsticks. It's everything is weird. And I was coming from France. I just arrived from Paris, and it was really weird to me. I didn't know how to handle all this. Like, like I'm like, what the hell am I serving to those people? Old bread, and sometimes the sticks were so old. They were like 2, 3. It's like, oh my God, nothing made sense. Nothing made sense. And then I got used to it, and then it was normal. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And then it was just, which
Sometimes old
I
fashioned can be great though. There used to be this restaurant on the far west side. I think it was West 46th Street in New York, in Manhattan, that I used to go to. I loved this place. It was called Chez Napoleon, and
wow,
they
that's a
had
name.
the whole theme inside was Napoleon, and they had pictures of him and
Wow.
paintings and stuff. It was a small place. The servers were all women. They all wore these kind of old fashioned uniforms. They were all uh you know they'd all been there like 20 years, but they were super friendly, and most of the time you'd walk in, and the first room there was a little bar, and they didn't really serve cocktails. It was really more like just, you could get an anisette or something there, and they had a few tables, and then there was another room that was just the dining room. But often in the bar in the corner, the owner would be sitting there with papers on the table, and he'd be
Yeah.
doing the books. He'd have a
Oh my
calculator.
God.
But they used to serve. I used to get this
That's so funny.
this rabbit stew in a mustard sauce. It was so delicious, real classic dish. But they would bring it to the table in these
Oh my
little
God.
oval copper coquettes, and they'd put it right
Yeah,
on the table, and then they'd serve you from that, so you could have seconds, and
I
it was
know,
just
right? That's the thing.
wonderful. I just loved
I,
that place.
yeah,
I really
that
felt
was
like I
like
had just driven off the highway in France somewhere
that's
and
what the
found
service
this.
was. A service on the cart, right?
Yeah, right.
On the trolley. What is that with the flame and stuff? Oh my God.
And you could get cheese
The
afterwards.
the
They always
the
had a
worst
couple of cheeses.
the worst was the crêpe Suzette. Oh my God.
Yeah,
The
I've
crêpe
never
Suzette was a
had to do
nightmare.
that. I
Oh
love
no,
crepe
I
Suzette,
had to
but
do that. I had to do that. Make sure the Grand Marnier is hot.
yeah,
Pour that, flame it. Oh, everybody.
yeah.
Except when it doesn't start, it doesn't go.
I worked in a place
Like,
briefly in New York that we did the Caesar salad table side, where you had to rub
yeah,
that. You had
me
a big
too,
wooden
me
bowl,
too.
and you
Oh yeah,
rubbed it
no,
with
no, all
garlic,
this,
and then you
right?
broke an egg in, and the whole
Yep.
thing. You just built it right
No,
in
I had
front
to
of
do that
them.
too, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
and grated the Parmesan,
yeah. They were really
right?
good though. That salad was
They
really
are really
good.
good. It's super good, absolutely.
That was probably the best.
Anchovy, non-anchovy, yeah.
Oh yeah, you grind up the anchovy first in the bowl, and then you put an egg in, and then you just keep adding things, and finally you're putting the lettuce in, and then the cheese. It's a fabulous
That
way
was
to
it
make a
was great.
Caesar salad.
It's true.
I love those old-fashioned restaurants. The ones that I
It
don't
was
like are
fun.
the
No,
ones that
right?
just were not, they didn't care anymore. The ones where they just, and they didn't care,
No, I
and
know.
the food was tired. But the places where they really, they were doing it because this is what we do. We're in the hospitality business.
And that was
It can
that
be
was the
really
way the
fun.
service was done. That was the way the service was done in the old days.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the way restaurant used to work, there's a lot of stuff that are done at the table because it has to be fresh.
Right.
That's
We
why.
were just talking to the young
And it's
woman
part of
from
the
the
show also.
UK.
Yeah.
There are a lot of places in London where you can go that are like, chop houses where they still come and they do certain
Wow.
things, like you order a fish and they'll come and they'll fillet it at the table
I
side.
love.
They do that
I
in
used to do that
Paris.
too. I used to do that too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Get the butter knife, get the fillet oh my God, yeah. No, I
Yeah.
used to do all this. So that's the thing, man. We are people in the restaurant business today, they'll never see that again, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not gonna come back, right?
Yeah. It's from another world. And it's too bad because it was really fun. It added to the sense of theater in the restaurant.
What
And
about in those fancy restaurants today? I mean, I know it's been 2 years we haven't even gone out, but do they do that at the table? No, because I went to many. They just everything is all portion and pretty and done in the kitchen, right? Nobody even touches the food on the floor, right?
right. Yeah. I think it's a lost art. I'm sure there are places that still do it, especially in probably some places in New York and Paris and London, but
We should do we
it'd be
should do a
fun to
list.
do.
James, we should do a list of things that people don't do at all in restaurant any longer, like
Yeah.
we used to. Like, right?
Yeah.
Cut the fish, serve the fish, fillet, do the
Yeah.
crêpes Suzette. The crêpes Suzette was a nightmare for us because if the Grand Marnier was not hot enough, it would not burn, right?
Hmm.
And you spend the thing trying to get that thing to work, and it was like waiting for and you're like,
Finally, you just go,
my
you get the
God,
blowtorch and you just,
there was no
yeah.
blowtorch.
And
It
wasn't
was
the
that or that didn't work.
wasn't Steak Diane another
Oh,
one that used to
steak.
get
Oh
done
yeah,
table
steak
side too?
flambé.
Yeah.
Oh my
Anything
God.
flambe.
Or cut the steak at the table. So you bring the big the big cut, like
Right.
cut the buff, like the
Right.
what's cut the buff in I forgot.
Uh,
And then you serve it and you actually
like a
cut it in front
tenderloin.
of
Not a tenderloin, but that'd be a
I forgot
tri-tip or something like that.
it was the whole so basically the T-bone, right? You have your
Yeah.
fillet and your entrecôte.
Yeah.
The
Or they
right.
would have, or like prime rib. You'd have a prime rib and you'd bring that and you'd slice it at the table.
Yep.
And that
Yep.
way people could say, oh, I want it from the end, or I want them,
Yep.
that was fun. Yeah. I miss
Anyway,
those
oh,
kind
we're
of
almost done,
places.
right, James?
I
We're
miss
almost
those
done.
kind of places. And
Well,
it's
I don't.
also, well,
No. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
it's
I'm
not the
kidding.
kind of place I'd go to all the time,
Uh,
but they were fun when I used to go to those kind of places in New York,
yeah.
um, or Paris or London.
Yeah.
Paris, there were a lot of
Paris,
places I went to that they did things
mm,
tableside, especially with the whole fish and all
the
that sort of thing.
fish. The fish they do because in France we don't cook the fillet. I mean, I don't know about now,
Right.
but when I was there, it was the whole fish. So, and it's very easy to do actually.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna do that on the show at some point. I'm gonna show you how to serve a fish. It's super easy.
It
So,
is
chef,
easy.
what we'll do is we'll bake a trout, and I'll show them how to serve.
It's
It's fun
funny
and easy.
because just really quickly, when I was a teenager, some friends of mine and our dates, we went to the fanciest restaurant in Lincoln at the time. It was called Tony and Luigi's, and it was like the really fancy place to go. And it was mostly Italian food, but I thought it sounded really good to order the whole trout because I like trout, and so but I didn't have a clue how
Oh
to
wow!
take this thing apart, and they didn't do it for me. So I remember I was just
Whoa.
getting bones in my mouth, and I just thought, God, how can anybody eat this? I mean, it just. And now I know
Oh
how to
man,
fillet it, and and it's very simple to
that's
do, and you
funny.
don't even really need a knife. You just use like you say, use spoons or just a table knife is all you need.
But
You
yeah,
don't
table
need.
knife. It's better. All right, we'll do that.
You need a
Great.
sharp knife if you're going to fillet a fish that's raw. But if you're filleting a fish that's already been cooked, it just comes right
It
off,
falls
and
off the
it's
part.
just
It falls off the part.
yeah,
We'll do it. That'll be fun. And
yeah.
then we can do so we can do that. And then out of that fish, because we're not going to eat it, then I can do some type of maybe a pate, like a quick pate. That would be
Oh
fun to
yeah,
do.
oh yeah.
Show them how to make a quick rillette, right?
Ah,
Like a
yeah.
good fish rillette, right? With sardines and
Uh huh.
cooked salmon
Hmm.
or trout. All right, we'll do that. All right, people. Thank you so much, everyone. So I was asking Jenny for a name. It says right here, Jenny. Jenny, what's your name?
She just well, that was cool. That was cool that we got somebody
Sorry.
from the UK watching
I
this.
know that's great. And Panos, man. So Panos has a store that is and we, Panos,
Yeah.
let's have you on the show.
We
Maybe
had
next week or week
we tried
after
to have him
because
on the old show, but we had technical difficulties, so his
yeah,
audio wasn't coming through.
we
And
need to talk about
maybe
chocolate.
he's
Panos
learned
is
sign language by now. So,
we need to have him on the show to talk about chocolate. He
yeah.
has working with one of the best chocolate in the world. Really, like
Yeah.
this is actually he. They had an article in Geographic magazine. What is that? National Geographic
Yeah.
for like pages.
Yeah.
Those guys are not joking, and they have a really cool store in Palo Alto. So next week, Panos, come back or come and talk to us, and
Yeah, we'll get him on the
it'll be great
show
to learn
again.
about chocolate.
Yep.
All right, people. Thank you so much, guys. Everyone, we need to go
Thanks for
and do.
joining us. See you next week. We'll be here.
Yes.